H.264. So let's go back here for a moment. So we keep it set at H.264 here. Buffering, good idea, just leave it on auto. I won't get into explaining all the terminology and technical concepts that these are involved with. Interpolation, also not going to at this point to discuss it. The image size here is, as you see, the image size your viewer will see. Well, I've set it down smaller because I'm showing you the entire window of just Camit here, so I don't need a big one. But I can set it higher. I would have to first set my image here higher. For instance, let's try that. And then I get the option down here to set it higher, which is the output image size. And as you can see, it's gotten much bigger. But for the purposes of this, I'm going to set this down, and then we get it auto sets itself down here. Deinterlacing is just a function of the type of camera that I have, and further demos and classes will teach you more about that sort of thing. It's required for this particular camera that I am using. Now you can go into the advanced button here for the cam, and this is really irrelevant to what we're doing, but under Video Procamp, here's where you can set your brightness, your contrast, the hue, the saturation, the sharpness, and these become available based on the type of cam that you've got hooked up. Some cams give you access to all of these, some cams don't. Obviously my cam that I'm using now does not give me gamma, white balance, backlight, compensation, that sort of thing. But this is where you set it up. You can come into video image here, and I could actually flip vertical, flip horizontal, and I can tell it whether my camera has audio or whether I'm using an external audio, which is what I'm doing. So that's how to set up the camera. Okay, we'll close that. Audio is pretty simple for setup. Basically, you enable it. You choose the audio device on your system that you want to use, and that's about it. The default audio is good enough. We're not doing high-end music or anything like that, so this is adequate for speech and doing classrooms. MP3 is just the format that I'm using. If you're doing a recording or whatever and you're set at Windows Media Player, you'll see a different format available here, which is the Windows Media Audio format, and it will automatically choose that. So chat here just gives you a bunch of different preferences on what kind of sounds you want to have a ding or something like that come in when a chat comes in. You can set your preferences here on the colors of the text, that sort of thing. You know, if somebody's asking to pay some additional money so they can stay in the class, these sorts of things, you can set all those here. Login. Login is how you get access to the server. You'll be given a let me do this here. You'll be given an account ID, a production server name, an account ID, a username, and a password to log your class in to the streaming servers, our streaming servers. So once you log in on there, what you'll see happening here first is in the chat window, our servers are actually going through a testing sequence here to test the quality of your bandwidth, to make sure that you know, we're capable of actually pushing this out. So you'll see this testing going on here. You'll see the optimizer report, which is got some information in it to let you know how good of a bandwidth you've actually got. The main number to look at here first is upload bandwidth. As we stated in the very beginning, it has to be above 150 kilobaud per second. We're very good here at 892. Our latency, though, this is not a very good latency. The latency has to be below 500 milliseconds. Ideally, a good latency would be at 100 milliseconds. That would be an absolute ideal. I happen to be on a Wi-Fi network here, and that latency changes with every login. So if I was to log out and log back in, I'd probably get a better or maybe even a worse latency. But ideally, if you're getting a very high latency, you're probably better off logging out, logging back in until you get the good latency. This is just telling you the bandwidth that you've got set. You've set this actually in your video settings, what your audio bandwidth is, and what the limitations are. This is actually our server determining limitations based on these optimization testings here. So basically, then if everything goes good, it'll say down below, server status, connected to server, and we're ready. There you go. There's just a quick, brief overview of how to set up and use our JustCamet video chat encoder to push your classes into the internet and get started with a teaching program on live interactive video learning universities. We'll be doing another video, a more advanced video demo of using JustCamet in conjunction with Multicam Studio. But basically the elements that I've shown you here are pretty much the same. There is some advanced features I'll go through in the next demo. As I always say, though, the best thing to do is go through this user manual first. It'll give you a very good idea of how our system works and cause you a lot less frustration if you understand a little bit about how everything works first. So again, thanks for taking the demo of JustCamet, and I wish you luck with your teaching, and